Welcome to the Travel Business Unpacked, where passion meets possibility. Here's your host, Meredith Calloway.
Hello, and welcome to the Travel Business Unpacked podcast. I am your host, Meredith Calloway with Gifted Travel Network. And on today's episode, we have Travel MBA alum, a Travel Business University mentor, longtime mentor, and Gifted Travel Network member as well, longtime member, Celeste Auger-Munshi. Thank you for joining us today, Celeste. Welcome.
It's just a pleasure to be with you.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Going to be so much fun, I'm sure. We're going to get into a lot of things.
We are going to get into it. We're going to unpack a lot. And there's a lot to unpack because Celeste, came into the travel industry through our Travel MBA program, but she went through the Travel MBA program in 2015 and graduated in 2016. So we are looking at 10 years that you started the program. So let's start there. How did you find yourself attracted to this profession and make the decision to take the leap of faith and become a travel advisor?
I had been living in California. I was working at Stanford University, Federal Credit Union. I'd been there for, maybe 7 years. I managed a branch on campus, had a fabulous office. It was wonderful. Met some really interesting people. I did commercial deposits. I started that program with Stanford University. And, that was before Facebook was public. And, I got to see a lot of those beginning employees get instantly rich. The football, the coaches, everything. It was really, really an elevated experience working at such a fabulous university like that. But having been in another credit union prior to that on the East Coast in Maine, I was bored with my job. Even with all those things, it just wasn't filling me. Yeah. So I decided that there was a travel school, like a literal school.
Yeah.
They don't have too many of them anymore. Foothill College it was, right on the way to work. And I dove into taking the courses there to learn about travel, to feed my curiosity, and it was really wonderful. It was very well done. So there was no graduation or certificate or anything. I even took a GDS class, and I passed it. If people don't know what that is, it's the old way that travel agents used to book tickets and tours.
Global distribution system.
Now everything's beautiful with websites and it's easy to do. But back then it was like a different code. It was like DOS.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
I had done that, and that really fed. I've always been interested in travel, but that really fed something in me and started me thinking about a second career, because I had been creeping up on about 25 years in the credit union industry. So it was time to do something else, and things didn't end that fabulously at Stanford, but I gave my notice on my 25th anniversary. Because they were going in a different direction, and I was not interested in their offer for a different position. So I said, all right, talk to my husband. He was working as an executive in a software consulting firm. So we had the ability for me to stop working for a while. Then I ended up at a startup doing 2 years of technology work with the startup that had hotel software to monetize hotel rooms and how they're booked. eStandby Upgrade was the software, and Hilton had it. When you book a hotel room, you get a little offer. You can get it when you check in. You can choose what you want. So that really was, and they used qualitative analysis, all kinds of interesting machine learning. So I ended up working with an engineering team that was developing an app for hotels so that they could try to keep people on property. It was premature, but it was very exciting because I came from a background of the budget comes out, you have your
Right.
plan, you know what you have to do, you know the strategy, you know quarterly, you know what your numbers have to be, you know everything like that.
Yeah.
And at this startup, I would go in a conference room. The big boss would have me in there because I have a lot of ideas and can think out of the box. So me and engineers are in there, and there's a whiteboard, and we're starting to develop this app, which I really know nothing about, but the engineers are fine.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have an idea of process.
Yeah, well, you understand the
Listening
user
to my
side of
husband
it.
enough on the phone to understand how things work in the software world. But there was no plan. It was off the top of your head. They know what they want to do, but it's starting, there's no manual. That kind of prepared me for the entrepreneurship gig, right?
Yes.
So being from a very structured banking
Yes.
organization to this, take a break whenever you want, ping pong balls in the break room, your lunch gets delivered 2 days a week. I mean, no cubicles, just this
Right.
whole different way to work was just so refreshing to me.
Yeah.
That it was amazing. And we had purchased a property in Florida, so I had the ability to come back and forth and check on it and set it up for renters and all that. And while I did that was Cruise World in November. Every November, there's Cruise World in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale.
Yes.
And that's where I met you.
Okay.
So
Wow.
that's how it all started.
I
And
didn't know that.
yeah, you were on
Yeah.
stage the second year.
Yep.
And the first year, it's pretty funny because I used to get your emails. They were, I don't know. I kept getting them, but I was like, I don't know. But then when I heard you on stage the second year, it was a shift. And I met Lisa Fletcher at the booth.
Yeah.
And because I was sitting there and I said to myself, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Because I had left that second company. I was in Florida at the time. And I said, why don't I just start my own business? I had gift ringing in my ears all the time.
Yeah.
And the thing of it was, I couldn't find a host agency. The host agency, it seemed like such a scam, a lot of them. And nothing felt right, and I couldn't commit. So when the Travel MBA program was born, I'm like, this is perfect. I kind of knew a lot about travel. I knew about the industry, and I had been booking under a gentleman that I had met who owned his own travel agency. I had been booking cruises slowly, for friends and family, nothing major, but I've been doing that. And it just all came to fruition really quickly because that was the beginning of November. November 30th, I had my license. And then December is when I started, although I did have a different business name. But then I started with the Travel MBA program.
In December of 2015. Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. I love that. I didn't realize that I forgot that because we haven't been exhibiting at Cruise World for many years now.
Right.
Basically since we joined Virtuoso.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, that's fantastic. So one of the things that Celeste is known for, because she does mentor, and she's a fantastic mentor in our Travel Business University program. So Celeste is known to be the cruise expert. So let's just talk a little bit about cruising. As a mentor, what do you think is the biggest reason why people shy away from selling cruises?
I think that for some people, they may have had a poor experience on a personal cruise,
Yeah.
or they have an idea, a concept of what it is that it may or may not be.
Yeah.
I believe that a lot of people do go with families and whatnot because they have to, maybe a reunion cruise, or somebody loves cruising and they want to cruise. And typically it's on a mass market ship. Those are the cruise lines that do so much advertising. The Carnivals, the Royal Caribbeans, the Norwegian. So I think that because the ships just seem so big and impersonal for families, I think it's awesome. But I think people have a misconception. And I really feel like I'm a matchmaker. That's what I am. Because people don't know what they don't know. We've heard that phrase so much, but it's true.
Yeah.
You know, everyone has their idea of what, you know, by their lifestyle, by where they live, about cruising. And, you know, there are very intimate ships that are extremely high caliber, luxury, for travel immersion, expedition. So my job is to really get out of people through my, you know, my calls with them when I'm first onboarding a client, is to get an idea of how they feel about cruising, because that's about 80% of my business, because I love it so much. And I find, for me, not only being on a ship, that's where my happy place is, but I want people to at least enjoy how easy a mode of travel it can be. So matchmaking is very important, getting to know people, and what makes them, you know, what makes them come alive with travel. And mostly I can match them to a cruise line, or we work towards it, or they're open to trying it. I don't force anybody, obviously, it's their vacation, but I try to dispel the myths, and try to get people to think openly about what it is and what it isn't. So having the experience of having been on 40 ships myself.
I was going to ask you that. You read my mind.
So, and knowing intimately all the brands that we work with.
How many brands have you been on?
How many brands? Probably 12.
Yeah.
I'm guessing off the top of my head, but between river and ocean, probably about 12 brands, maybe more. But I've done a lot of ship inspections too, which is not sailing, but you know, that's a thing when you're a traveler.
You know, getting to touch and feel the product itself is a big difference.
And now they have those virtually, so you can pretty much do that without stepping foot on it. But I think it's important for travel advisors because it can be so lucrative.
It is it is lucrative. It is a fantastic product to sell. And if you're, you know, spending a lot of time booking hotels, I mean, you know, we're members of almost all of the Hotel Elite programs. And so, yes, that's fantastic. But I know that we have a lot of advisors in our network that have clients that just want to stick to the Hotel Elite programs. but there is so much more revenue potential, and not that you should be looking at it from that perspective, but it's a win-win. You will make more money and your client will get an experience that they may not have considered, but it turns out to be an absolute grand slam of an offer. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
So for someone who is like, okay, maybe I will dip my toe in, considering a cruise, but, I don't know anything about any cruise line. Like, what do you recommend they do? Do you recommend they just start doing like all of the different trainings? Or if they're a Gifted Travel Network member, do you recommend they show up for your mentor call and just, pick your brain?
One of the other travel advisors who's a mentor, Carol McKee, and I did a training for the Travel MBA program and for everyone in the network. I recommend starting there.
Yeah.
Usually it comes with an inquiry. So I really feel that it's best to get one brand at least under your belt.
Right.
They generally work the same way. But pick one where you think your ideal clients are going to fit. Hopefully that's either one of the ship within the ship concepts like Norwegian Haven, so that you can get them in there and then elevate them possibly to another luxury line.
Mm-hmm.
So or it could be a river cruise. If you're doing a lot of Europe, it could be river cruises are really a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So an expedition is really hot right now. A lot of money to be made with expedition cruising because of the higher price points. And those typically are, once in a lifetime, but if somebody gets the bug on an expedition cruise, they're going to want more. And expedition can be warm water too. It's not just Arctic and Antarctica. It can be other areas of the world, Galapagos and Kimberley in Australia.
I think that might be my next cruise is an expedition cruise, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So for example, if you have clients that are, they frequently stay at, I'm just trying to think, Rosewood hotels. What would you recommend that advisor consider in a cruise line?
Depending on what price point they're comfortable at, that type of a level is probably going to be a yacht.
Okay.
A scenic, it could be Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton. Yes. It could be something like that. It could be Ama Magna, which is the largest river cruise ship in Europe that sails on the Danube. So going into a river cruise ship that has like double the space in your stateroom might be a bridge to get people interested in that mode of travel.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about the opportunity that cruising offers with different types of travelers. So cruising obviously is a great option for the family, spring break, wanting everybody to be happy. It's one of the reasons why we started cruising when I was dating my now husband. It was a fantastic way to blend the kids without forcing them to do things together, because they could do things together. They could split up and go do their own thing. We always would just meet for dinner together. So it's great for families. But let's talk about some other type of travel situations that it offers a fantastic opportunity for.
It's great for people who are still in the workforce. Yes. The internet on cruise ships is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Some are better than others, but I think that if someone is a nomad and they really don't have an apartment, or they could travel around the world for a year,
Yeah.
and hook together cruises, not necessarily a world cruise, but they could jump around that way and get work done and see the world at the same time. So
Yeah.
that, like a global entrepreneur type of a role, that could be something. Obviously, empty nesters is a great, because usually they have a little more vacation time.
Yeah.
They could do back to back, maybe a little bit longer cruises.
And they can
Obviously,
sail at the less, off-peak seasons.
mhm.
Yeah.
And retired folks obviously have time. I think that it's a fabulous way to see a huge part of the world and get a lot of countries under your belt for much
Yes.
less of a cost than you
Yeah.
would by doing individual trips.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
That has absolutely been my experience. The funny thing is that my mother is the reason why I love travel. My mother got us traveling from a very young age, but she wasn't that adventuresome. Her focus for forcing us to travel, what I think was two. Number one, just a good way to bring the family together.
Right.
But number two, it was very educational for her. Like, she thrived on sightseeing. So I used to, I think about it now, I was such a brat. I used to complain about, oh no, here we go, another sightseeing trip. And now this is what I force my kids to do.
Right.
When we travel, and they love it. But so we never really left the United States, and we never went on a cruise. And so I was brought up to believe all these misconceptions that you're talking about a cruise. Like, why would I ever want to spend 7 days on a ship with 5,000 strangers and, fight the crowds every single time I get on and off the ship and blah, blah, blah. And then when I met Brian, about a year into our relationship, his dad was like, let's do a cruise. And it just turned into this fantastic, annual event that we would do. And we started on the mainstream ships because we had so many young kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we needed a ship with all of the bells and whistles that the kids would be stimulated, especially on those sea days. And that's when I discovered the ship within the ship concept. The very first one I discovered was actually a suite on a Royal Caribbean ship, because we had a situation where we had to have 5 people in the cabin. And the only way to get, I think it was at the time, there was
Right.
anyway. And then we moved into the Haven with Norwegian when we went to Alaska in 2018. And that was like a game changer. I was like, wow, this is just amazing. You don't have to leave the Haven if you don't want to. But when you had kids that wanted to go ride the go-karts,
Mm-hmm.
you did have to. But it's a fantastic way to do a multi-gen trip, or even a group. It's such a great way to do groups and it's low cost. I mean, if you have clients that are doing, like corporate clients that are doing big groups in hotel rooms, you might want to consider putting them on at sea in a cruise ship, as an alternative, because it can be a lot less expensive.
Absolutely.
So let's change subjects, because this is the Travel Business Unpacked, and I want to talk about, the business and the profession of selling travel. And now you're 10 years into it. And I know that things have changed in your life, unexpected. But I want people who listen to this podcast to understand that this is a career path that is really, really amazing, and can be financially satisfying for many different life situations. So let's talk about your life situation, because I know that you aren't doing this full time, and that's by necessity, is you don't have the ability to sell travel full time. But because you don't have the ability to do it full time, you are still able to do it, which is amazing. So you're able to kind of have your cake and eat it too. So do you want to talk a little bit about how that transpired? And
Sure. It started out when I started my business, it was going to be my full-time job. And it was for the first few years. I think that as time goes on, things happen in your life and you make decisions that is as best as you can. I just didn't know how good of a decision this entrepreneurship would be.
yeah,
And at the beginning, and even now, there's a lot of talk about, $1 million sellers. Now the minimum seems to be 2 million, because when you have a growing business, it grows. And we've been through, after COVID, travel exploded and all these things. So I've always had that in the back of my mind, especially at the beginning. But as things happened in my life, I knew that that was going to be really difficult for me to achieve. The thing that I love about my chosen profession now is that I can have a career that is fulfilling, and I can work around what I need to with my family. My husband has Parkinson's. It's been 22 years now.
wow.
And in the beginning, it was fine. It was not a problem. It was more annoying than anything else, but we worked around it. He was still working. That's
Mhm.
progressed over time. It got to be such that there was a lot of physical therapy, a lot of speech therapy, occupational therapy, just to keep him having his best life. And you can't do those things at night, so you have to do them during the day. So
Yeah.
I was able to block out my time as required and still meet with clients, still plan trips. My calendar doesn't look like other people's calendars because obviously his care is priority.
Yeah.
He was able to have a treatment called deep brain stimulation 2 years ago that really has made our quality of life so much better, that I was able to go through 2 brain surgeries in a year and not really have that impact my business. I mean, I
That's
really
amazing.
never had to shut down. I'm
Mhm.
just careful about the clients I take on. I want to give them 100%, and I just don't take on more than I know I can handle.
Yeah.
I don't push that envelope because that just creates stress.
Oh yeah.
And I have
Immediately.
avenues. I can hire, virtual assistants, which I do sometimes when it's busy. So there are ways to work around this.
Mm.
It's not easy. A lot of it is all mindset. I mean, literally, it's sometimes I don't want to do it, or I don't feel like working on my business.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm just too tired,
Yeah.
but usually that passes. Every day is a different day. And normally I get through those little bumps, no different than anyone else.
Yeah.
Somebody with, young children at home, that's not easy.
Mhm.
My mom was sick. I was able to care for her, and she had her treatments here in my home for a whole year. I was
Yeah.
able to do that. And it's, will I ever be $1 million, $2 million seller? I don't know. Maybe, but right now I'm content with what I have. I earn enough money to run my business, have profit, and that's
Yeah.
really where you want to be.
Yeah.
It's not.
To you, that's what financial satisfaction is. I mean, I just taught this yesterday to our newest Travel MBA cohort that our definition at GTN of entrepreneurial success is when you have achieved fulfillment, freedom, and financial satisfaction.
Right.
But who defines financial satisfaction? We don't define that. You do. Exactly.
Because it's not conventional how I do things. So I have to work on that mindset piece because it can make me feel guilty. It can make me feel like I'm not enough.
Yeah.
But when I bring it down to what's important is my clients and their happiness and their fulfillment with hiring me and what I can provide for them to make their trips not ordinary but extraordinary. And that is what my focus is on. So I may not have 1,000 clients, but each client I have, I treat top shelf, and I'm always there for them, and it shows in the reviews and the repeat business I get, because that's mostly my business model is referrals and repeat business. I mean, that's a lot of how I've built my business over the 10 years.
So based upon where you are in life and now, in this position of being a caregiver for your husband, you were a caregiver for your mother, and were able to, participate in that, which is just, then we call this the sandwich years, right? We get, because I'm sure you're still helping children and grandchildren and as well as so
that's right. And brothers.
Exactly. I think what you represent is that it's not only a fulfilling career choice if you have a passion for travel, it's also a very flexible career choice for people with lots of things going on in their life, whether it's you're a brand new mom and you've got babies in the house, or an empty nester that is, caring for an aging elderly parent, or, like you said, someone who wants to just, is completely by themselves and wants to travel and spend. We have people who graduated from the Travel MBA program that are traveling something like a third of the year. Like a third of the year they're traveling, which is amazing. I love it. So
laptop and the internet and your cell phone. That's all you need.
That is. That is. Well, and relationships, right?
Of course. Well, that's a big part of our business, whether it be clients or our supplier partners. That's huge.
Yes. Huge part of our business. Absolutely.
I think that what I wanted to say was that, the one thing about caregiving is that you really have to take care of yourself. Because you're not going to be any good for whoever you're caring for. And, sometimes I get into a hard patch and I think, oh, I just need to stop. But then I'm like, I can't, because this is what I do is so meaningful to me. I can't imagine not having travel in my life. I can't travel as much as I used to, but planning travel and, keeping up with the industry and the cruise, and that keeps me going. And that's for my brain, for my heart, for my soul, for my time. And I deserve that. And I need to have something. I mean, I'm way too young, even though I'm a little older, but I'm too young to just,
Yes.
fully retire, and I'm not gonna do that. So
Yeah.
I keep at it, and like I keep saying, it is a mindset thing. But I've been blessed with an abundant life, and now I live a little more humbly than and modestly than I probably would if I wasn't in this situation. But I'm happy with it. So,
I
and
love it.
mentoring is a big part of it too. That is also that feeds me as much as, our cohort members get from being mentored. It gives me a lot too.
Yeah.
Especially when we meet in person and you can really feel the vibe of how much they appreciate what the program does for them,
Yeah.
because it's all about people. It's all about connection, human connection.
I've found that is common with all of our mentors, is that they feel the same way. They feel like they're getting as much out of mentoring as the people that are being mentored
Mhm.
by them. They're just also giving, such giving. We have such giving people on that mentor team.
Mhm.
It's amazing. APJ is a very lucky person. She has quite
Oh,
the crew she gets to manage.
I'm very lucky to be part of such a fabulous group of mentors. But I think it gives you, as women, we need validation,
Mm,
and that
yeah,
is it's validating every time I get on a call. I mean,
yeah,
seriously, and we're human. I mean, I don't know everything. None of
yeah,
us know everything, but together
yeah.
we can figure it out because we have
You can figure
resources.
it out. So let's talk a little bit about. You said you don't travel as much as you'd like to, but you are still traveling.
Mhm.
So, and your husband, is he able to travel? And if so, how do you manage that?
Sure. We do have to do a lot of pre-planning.
Hmm.
Um, he is fine as long as I'm with him or someone is with him that's related to us. He can't qu probably navigate. He actually went to India in the fall by himself,
Oh my
and
goodness.
yeah, it was, he had a lot of help in the airports, but, that was a milestone for him. It didn't turn out as well as we had hoped it did, and he did end up coming home early because he went home to India to be with his dad, prior to his
Mm,
dad passing. So there was a lot of heaviness there to begin with. But he made it home okay. It took him a good month to recover. Um, but we know that there's a line, and that's the line, is that he
right.
needs to travel with someone.
With someone.
But we make things as easy as possible. We were just in Toronto 2 weeks ago, and we had rented a power chair, a
Okay.
power wheelchair.
Yeah.
So, because his stamina is not fabulous, he can walk, getting out of a vehicle, going to a restaurant, that's fine.
Yeah.
But walking around a museum or, down the street for a long time, that's not good for him. So we rented a power chair, which had a remote control because he's not good with the um, joystick that comes with a chair. So my stepsons were navigating the wheelchair with a remote control. So there are things that you can do. And,
Yeah.
we're going to invest in one of those ourselves because it's easier to have the power of
Yeah.
the wheelchair do it itself than to have somebody physically moving it.
Yeah.
It can work in manual mode, which is great because sometimes you need that, but that's going to be fabulous on a cruise ship. So the size of the
Absolutely.
cruise ship won't matter that we travel on.
Hmm.
Um, Airports are easy to navigate with handicap services. They make it really easy, and whoever you're traveling with can accompany that person so they're
Hmm.
not alone. Um, we make arrangements as far as accessible cabins or hotel rooms because we need a little more space. and it's just better for him to have a seat in the shower. So
Right.
it takes planning, but obviously I'm a planner, so that's kind of my thing anyway. So to be organized and make things as easy as possible, um, bringing medications, all these things you have to think about. But
Yeah.
cruise lines make it easy. They even have the ability for people who have kidney issues to go on cruises. They can bring in the hospital beds. They have
Wow.
Hoyer lifts, oxygen. I mean, it's amazing how
Yeah.
people can if they're well enough to travel.
Right.
Sometimes people have breathing issues, they need oxygen. Well, that
Yeah.
shouldn't preclude them from traveling.
Traveling.
So there are ways to do this and ways to do it safely. And if you have a travel advisor that you're working with that knows these things, it just gives you the confidence to be able to just step out a little bit, even
Mhm.
if it might be a 4-day cruise or,
Mhm.
once you're there, you might as well do 7, right?
Yeah.
So it's all possible as long as you have the will to do it.
Right. So let's change paths here. Let's go back to the whole topic of cruising. What are you most excited about in terms of like what's coming in the cruising
Trends.
world?
Mhm.
Yeah, trends.
I'm really excited about how many people are new to cruise that are taking advantage of cruise.
Yeah.
I think after COVID, at the beginning of COVID, I hate to bring that up, but it was really a point in the travel industry, especially for cruising, where they thought cruising was going to die.
Yeah.
Well, the opposite happened.
The opposite happened.
Yeah.
And Crystal went bankrupt during
Mhm.
that because of
Yeah.
partly because of
Right.
that, but
But
and
they're
they're
back.
back. They're
Even
back.
better.
Even better.
Yeah. So I think that it's another mode of travel. It doesn't mean people have to just only do cruises, but there are some places in the world that you might want to go that's really the place to take advantage of a cruise.
Like what? Where would you recommend that? Are there places in the world that you think well, physically there are places in the world that you
Yeah.
can't cruise, but yeah, I'm curious, like what are some parts of the world that you think must be done by cruise? Um,
Galapagos,
yes,
circumnavigating Iceland,
yes,
a transatlantic. I think if people are
yeah,
into traditional cruising or they don't like to fly, but they want to go to Europe
true, yeah.
and they have the time, we know a lovely Cunard ship that can get them there. Um, what other places?
Australia, New Zealand.
Alaska
Oh
inside
yeah,
passage is a
yeah,
no-brainer
yeah,
because Alaska is so huge. A land cruise really is fabulous there.
yes.
Um, Arctic,
Arctic,
Antarctic,
yeah. What's your opinion
Svalbard.
on the passage, flying to Antarctica
Oh,
or doing the passage? What's the change?
you can fly or do the Drake's Passage. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your opinion on that?
It depends on how much time you have,
Mhm.
and how prone you are to seasickness, I think.
Right.
To me, it's a huge adventure, and
Yeah.
I love being in remote areas like Norway. I went all the
Yeah.
way up over. We were 147 miles from Russia. I mean, that
Wow.
was just exhilarating.
Yeah.
Um, so
It just
if that
depends.
type of thing feeds you, I think that's good. I think there's a lot of options for people who heliski.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, all kinds of camping in the Arctic.
Mm.
I mean, all
Yeah.
kinds of really extreme things or exotic things. The Amazon. Um,
Mm. Yeah.
You know, just there's just so many. The Kimberley is a huge upcoming area in Australia that is so very unique
Yes.
on the unique scale of Galapagos or Iceland.
Yeah.
Greenland is, you know, a popular spot to go, especially because now they have an airport
Hmm.
that's major.
What is your opinion of the new cruise lines coming out, like Explora, or the hotel lines now bringing, going to sea, like Four Seasons and
Yeah,
Ritz-Carlton?
I I think it just gives more people the ability to try different things and
Yeah.
not have to just do hotels.
Hmm.
Um, I think Explorer Journeys has done. I'm going on a sailing actually in November, so that will be my first time on Explorer, but I've had a lot of clients sail, and I've had clients that are true blue Regent Silversea people, and they
Okay.
say Explorer Journeys is equal, and the food is incredible, the Wi-Fi is incredible.
Okay.
It's a boutique hotel experience on
Right.
a ship.
And
So
they do also some overnights in, I mean,
so
that was
that
the one
that
thing my
that's a
son, my
trend.
23-year-old son was like, the one thing I don't like about cruising to these places, Mom, is I don't get to like do the nightlife in these
Right.
cities. Like,
That's
well, we need a cruise line for
right.
that.
There are cruise lines that cater to more overnights. That's a trend.
Hmm.
Oceana, Azamara, even Virgin Voyages. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of them are setting up sailings back to back, like
Yeah.
that make it very, they're not repeating um,
Right. Right. The same
journeys so that
itinerary. Yeah.
clients can be on for 2 weeks, to do 2 7 nights and just see more
Yeah.
and not repeat the same ports.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're making me want to go and start researching my next cruise.
there you go.
I guess
That's
that's
my
what I'm
job.
going to do. So we are way over time. So, but I still want to, I love this final question, and I'm not going to let you leave this podcast until I ask this question of you. So being able to be in this industry is such an honor. It's a privilege. And it gives us the opportunity to have experiences we may have never, ever considered. So what is one of your favorite pinch me, oh my God, I can't believe I get to do this for a living moments that you've had since you've become a travel advisor?
There are so many.
Yeah.
But I think the one moment that I recall that really solidified how deeply travel touches you
Mm.
is the first time I went to India. My
Oh,
husband's Indian, so
yeah.
I was able to go to India. We had a whole trip planned throughout the whole country of India. And 2 weeks before we were scheduled to go, my mother-in-law had to have open heart surgery, which was good that we were going. So that was fabulous. But then we had to cancel all of our touring.
Wow.
So I got to experience India the first time, not as a tourist, but as a daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
So I had experiences that other people will never have in India because I'm married to an Indian man.
Yeah.
Obviously United States citizen now, but you know, I've learned and been enriched so much by this culture because of my family. But I think the point of the whole experience in a third world country like India that has, when they say incredible India, it's incredible,
Mm.
but it's not for everyone. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of things that you will see, smell, hear that will change you. And it's
Mm.
like that in a lot of other countries.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know safaris well, and that changes you internally. And
Absolutely.
India does that also, mostly because of the severe level of poverty
Yeah.
that you see. But the way that people live there, and my husband's family is middle class, nothing fancy, glitzy about how they live. My in-laws, very, very simple people. And that gave me an understanding more of my husband and his
Yeah.
background, even though I'd known him for so many years. But I think the thing that really comes to my mind is when I came home, I walked in the door, I sat in my recliner that was nice and soft and cushy, and I just had a full heart moment
Yeah.
where I was in my country, my birth country, my home, and I felt at home there. But all the things flashed in my head, the
Yeah.
women with their children on the back digging on the side of the road, and the bamboo structures for, construction, just the temples, and the old people lying out there waiting for handouts, the happiness of being with my in-laws,
Yeah.
the relatives, all these things. Just it was just such it just it was happy and sad and grateful all at the same time, and it
Yeah.
just bubbled up. And I mean, I had tears that were happy and sad at the same
Yeah.
time. And that's what travel can give you.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be, 6-star luxury, although I do love traveling that way. Um, but it
Don't
really
we all?
roots you in the human experience and makes you feel grateful. And I think a life is fuller when you have that under your abundant life, because a lot of us live abundantly,
Yeah.
whether we think we
And
should have more or not.
well, and
We
you
are
get over
very
it
rich.
and you
We are
realize how,
very rich.
yes, yes. That is beautiful, and that's a perfect place to end this. It really is. What a beautiful way to end this, and I mean that's the gift of travel, right?
It is.
It's
And
absolutely
anyone
the
can
gift,
have it
and everyone can have it.
with
Yep.
a travel advisor.
Yep. And if you become a travel advisor, you get that gift tenfold because you
That's
get to
right.
give that gift to people.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation, and thank you all for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.